Hi there, and welcome to Story of a Startup. I'm Qasim, your host, and I'm joined by Alex today, who's going to be telling us about an incredible journey about himself and his business and his startup journey as well. So, hi, Alex.
Hi, how are you doing? Thanks very
Yeah,
much for having me.
no worries. So, we've rebooted Story of a Startup, which is basically a podcast for entrepreneurs to tell their story around why they kind of became an entrepreneur and what got them into it, as well as the real stories of starting up a business. I think a lot of people hear stories of success and kind of the end product, but what my purpose of these podcasts are is to really understand what actually goes into and the mindset of setting up a business and the real struggles, because we both can appreciate it isn't as easy as people are make out to be. So that's the kind of concept behind the podcast, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So just do you want to just give yourself a quick introduction and just tell the listeners who you are and what business you've started?
Yeah, of course. And I think you're so right that everybody sees businesses once they become successful. And it's so important to talk about the startup journey because the startup journey is the hardest and
Hmm.
the loneliest part at times. And nobody actually, everybody feels isolated, everybody feels on their own. And everybody has moments of self-doubt, imposter syndrome. Are you doing the right thing? All these thoughts and feelings that go racing through your head, and it's totally normal. And it's totally normal.
Yeah.
And even the people who have gone on to become massive success, they have all gone through this journey. They have all started, and it's so important to speak about the beginning. So yeah, sorry, I was digressing.
That's
So
fine.
yeah, I am Alex Clapp. I would guess I would describe myself as maybe a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I've had a multitude of different businesses for the last 25 years. Some have been success, some have fallen over and failed, and some continue to be my mainstay businesses to this day. And I guess the business that I've come on to chat to you about today is Claritee, TEE, which I formed just under 3 years ago. And that was formed from a personal life journey, shall we call it, where I went through a seismic shift in my life, and it made me want to do something different, and it made me want to showcase and shout about what is possible, and also to shine a light and allow people to find different ways of helping themselves, not telling anybody what to do, but ultimately we are all unique, and we all have a different makeup of what will help us. For some people it might be exercise, good food. For other people it might be meditation.
Mhm.
Communication, speaking, groups. For other people it could just be walks in nature, etc., etc. But ultimately there is so many different options and so many different ways that you can actually get the best version of yourself, but a lot of these things nobody really knows about, or nobody knows about where to go, where to look. It's almost like a needle in a haystack. So yeah, that's the bit of the premise of the journey, which sounds like a huge journey, but I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about
Yeah.
how it started, where we're up to, the challenges, and all the rest of it as we go.
Yeah, and I think the main purpose is that we don't want to put people off by making it sound like it is challenging, but it's just the reality of setting up a business. And I think like when most of us set up businesses, well, this is what I do anyways. Like I think the big picture of how much money can I earn, and all it's going to take is this many customers to make this much money, and it's like how hard is it to actually get them customers is a different reality. It's not as kind of as easy as probably these like gurus online or people talk about on YouTube, which a lot of people kind of look at to and get inspired by these people who are successful and then just make it sound so easy. But yeah, okay. So just want to tell the viewers a little bit about the actual business itself and what it actually consists of.
Yeah, for sure. So Clarity was formed just under 3 years ago, and it has been formed to showcase and to highlight what is possible without mind-altering substances. So we have done big alcohol-free events. So basically across the UK, we have done a multitude for the last just under 3 years of different big corporate and individual events where we've had between 100 people to 350 people attend our nights. And the whole purpose of the night is about connecting people authentically, no judgment, no mind-altering substance, lots of fun, lots of engagement, lots of dancing. At one point, we had 250 people do a sober conga in Manchester at 7:30 on a Thursday night, and everybody looked at me and went. Looked at myself and Ben, my business partner, went, "There's no way you are getting 250 people up to do a sober conga." And I was like, "Watch us, watch us." And honestly, the laughter, the giggles, the authentic fun that we actually created was absolutely brilliant. And it's, but let's be real about it.
Mhm.
We have been the first to market, and we have been doing a lot of UK firsts. And in the UK, we have a very drink culture, and that's been around for a long time.
Yep.
That has been around for a long time. All the work events were always boozy. All your socialization with friends, family was always booze related. You know, it's that age old thing of you have a bad day, you have a drink, you have a good day, you have a drink,
Mm.
you're celebrating something, you have a drink, you're commiserating something, you have a drink. And it's been the culture for so many years. But the actual change that is coming, when you look at the stats these days, 43% of the Gen Z are not drinking. And actually, middle aged people, which I think is classed between something like 30 to 55, one in three are walking away from alcohol.
Mhm.
So you've got a seismic shift of almost two huge pockets of the population. They're actually deciding, I think I can leave it or give or, basically choose. I've got a choice. And some of them are choosing that actually alcohol isn't the best thing for finding the best version of themselves. And yeah, so it's changing. But has it shifted in terms of where I wanted it to be by now, 3 years in? No, it's not. Is there still that old fashioned or old, I guess it's the old ways of what we've always known. In terms of work cultures, everybody has always known that it's a boozy corporate, event, or a
Mhm.
boozy Christmas party, or a boozy summer party, or a boozy work night out, and that's always been the culture. And to shift that and to change that, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not
Yep.
going to happen overnight. Even if the demand is diminishing, it's going to take time, and it's going to take consistency and time. And it's all about choice. It's all about choice because, like anything in life, if you've got enough choices, then it's up to you to make that choice and find what works for you and what helps you to get the best version of you. And that's what Clarity has been formed in the beginning. It's been formed to showcase and to highlight what is possible. And now we're almost moving further on to also highlight and shine a light on all different other ways that you can actually find and utilize to get the best version of yourself in looking after yourself mentally. Because one of the biggest things that I am saying is, as a nation, over the last 10 to 15 years, we've got a lot better about what food we're eating, our diets. We've got a lot better about knowing that exercise, and whether it's walking or training or physically, we've got a lot better at looking after ourselves. And the piece of the puzzle that I am saying is missing, and it was always missing for me, was being able to look after myself mentally, the actual challenge of knowing mentally what I need to do to keep myself healthy mentally, what I need to do to look after myself mentally, and what helps me with regards to my mental health. And that's the three pieces of the puzzle that I am predicting over the next 5 to 10 years we will get a lot better at. We will get a
Mhm.
lot better at. But we're not there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah, I mean, I don't personally don't drink, and I used to go to all these like corporate events because I've always worked in corporate, and you see these people and the kind of excessive alcohol because normally it's an open bar, so you kind of just go like, and you always look and you just like you would never drink like this on a normal day. So why just because it's free? And I get it's a cost effective way, but it's like why are you excessively drinking? And then you'll always get that one or two people who become that the office embarrassment in the morning, and that's who they're all talking about. Like that was Karen over there or whoever who got really drunk. Because I've got loads of them stories. So it's like I never really understood that kind of concept of getting that excessively drunk at especially a work event. Kind of the idea of going to an event now, especially as somebody who doesn't drink, it seems a little bit more like welcoming because you're always going to get them groups of people who kind of go, oh, it's not really for me. Especially now that you said before with the Gen Z people, it's like they aren't going to these kind of nights out. They're not getting this kind of to drink, and they're all going on run clubs and stuff like that now because that's the culture that they're all in. So it's kind of I guess adapting to the times of where we are right now. So which is a great concept.
Yeah, and you think about it as a employer, as a business owner, how can you be saying that you are offering something that is all inclusive and
Mm,
that basically caters for everybody if you are basically supplying lots of alcohol
yeah.
and basically throwing alcohol into the mix? Because if you've got 100 staff and let's say 20% of those don't drink or don't
Hmm.
want to drink at a work event, as soon as that 20% is surrounded by other people who drink to excess, or to your point, who basically take advantage of the free bar,
Hmm.
then it's a lottery as to what you're going to get.
Yep.
And now the actual laws and the legislation is changing around what a responsible employer has to do. And, that's changing. So the days of the old, old ways, I call it the dinosaur ways now because, and it was something I was involved in. So
Mm,
I am not criticizing or saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that basically the times have changed, the want and the wish has changed, and we need to basically evolve with the changes, and we cannot carry on doing what we always used to do and thinking that we're going to attract the best people because if you've got a third of your workforce that don't want something or that want something different, then ultimately, if they're not getting it, they're going to go and work for somebody else who's providing
yep.
it.
Yeah.
And that's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah. And you see these like alcohol brands that are kind of going to that 0% kind of drinks. So obviously they're adapting as well because they see the shift. And then I'm not too sure like what the percentage is of all these brands that are doing it or how successful them non-alcoholic drinks are, but you can see the shifts happening. So in respect of obviously starting this idea off, it's not something like you said before has been done here in the UK. What kind of made you think this is something that is right for you? Is it based off the kind of the trends that you've seen, or was this something else that kind of made you think this is a good idea for us to make a business?
So effectively, mine has been born off my own personal journey. And
Okay.
so I have always socialized and always done the older way, I'm going to call it, of basically the booze culture, the corporate events,
Hmm.
everything's centered around alcohol. And I had some personal health problems myself, and I've got an undiagnosed eye condition. And a long story short, I lost the 90% sight of my left eye. And at one
Wow.
point, 3.5 years ago, I was facing the prospect of going fully blind. And I was preparing voice recognition on my phone, voice recognition on my laptop. I was basically, beginning to almost prepare myself for the worst. And they managed to stabilize my right eye. And it's been stable now, touch wood, for the last 3.5 years. So, but I faced all these mental challenges, and I was an old fashioned guy that basically did not connect with my own emotions, did not speak about my own feelings, wasn't open to dealing with my own mental, battles and my own mental struggles. And I ran away
Hmm.
from everything. I ran away from everything and I pretended to the outside world that everything else was fine. And I became an alcoholic. And at the height of my addiction, I was drinking a litre bottle of vodka and 4 bottles of wine every single day. And I was still functioning. And I was pretending to the outside world that I was still okay. I was pretending to my friends and family. And the reality was that I was hiding away in a flat on my own, not wanting to be here anymore, not wanting to be here anymore in a really, really dark place. And it just made me realize that I cannot be the only person who doesn't know how to deal with themselves mentally and doesn't know how to process and be able to cope with testing times and be able to find different ways of helping themselves.
Mhm.
So the first, I guess the whole when I came out of my final rehab because I went to three and I did a bit of research along the journey of dipping in and out, pretending that I could beat the addiction and
Mhm.
researching to see if I possibly could. But I soon found out after 2 years of dipping in and out and going to various different rehabs that I was not the one person in the world that could beat addiction. I tried my best. And I decided that I wanted to do something to try and showcase and to try and allow other people to see that all of us have struggles, all of us face challenges, and all of us need to accept and find different ways of looking after ourselves mentally. And the easiest way for me to begin to showcase that was to create the events without alcohol because it's not telling anybody what to do, but it's
Mhm.
actually allowing people and showcasing to other people that actually I can have a great time, I can have fun, I can interact, I can step out my comfort zone and chat to loads of people, I can dance sober, I can basically do anything without mind altering substance. So if I can do all of that without mind altering substance, and I can basically feel empowered, etc., then it also empowers me to be able to face some challenges and to be able to deal with other things that come on in your life or that basically happen without having to run away and without having to use a coping, because I used it as a crutch to begin with. And then it became an addiction. And then it became, a reliance on it. So, yeah, it's basically the whole concept has been born on the purpose of trying to showcase and to help other people, not by telling anybody what to do. It's almost like a very subtle, because we both know if somebody told me what to do, even if somebody tells me what to do these days, I'm probably like, no. If you're telling me
Mhm.
what to do, no. But if I actually see other people that are thriving, that are basically speaking about what's helped them, that are actually giving me some different choices and allowing me to see, things differently, it might just inspire me to try something different, or it might just inspire me to go, do you know what? I'm going to give that a go. I'm going to try
Yeah.
that and see how I feel because it's all about empowerment. It's all about empowerment and allowing people to find those choices for themselves. So yeah, I guess that's where it was born from. And yeah, I, I also think the hardest thing for me because I've always been about looking after other people. And over the last 5 years, I have probably lost in excess of 10 friends to the disease of addiction. And they have left behind kids, parents, loved ones, family members, everybody. And the massive ripple effect has been huge. But what I have realized and what I have come to accept is I cannot help anybody else. But what I can do is show and speak about what is possible and what I want to do and what I am going to do, even though it's hard work, even though feels like some days you're banging your head against a brick wall, is carry on showcasing and shouting about good things, what is possible. what you can do, what you're capable of, what any of us, can do in this life. Nothing is impossible.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I mean, it must be difficult enough just talking about your own story, but when you just mentioned there around like 10 of your friends, sorry to hear about them, obviously losing their life, it's not an easy thing to talk about. So I just want to firstly just say thanks for sharing that story and kind of going so deep into it, which I can't imagine it being easy at all to talk about. But hopefully it's here to inspire people to realize that there is other aspects of life which is worth fighting for, and if there is something that you can focus on which can make that shift, because obviously like you said before, it's like coming out of rehab 3 times. I know people with addiction, and it's like I've always said it's like it's not up to me to be able to help them, because it's ultimately up to themselves. It's them who need to make that decision to actually step forward and want to make that change. We can try as much as we want as friends and family, but it's really down to that individual to really want to make that shift.
Yeah, and it's so hard. It's so hard because the ripple effect is everybody else tries to fix everybody else.
Yeah.
Um, and what I am advocating and what I am all about is showcasing not just for addiction, but for training, for all ways of looking after yourself mentally. There is always choice. And if there's enough choice under one roof, or if there's enough choice being highlighted, spoken about, shared under one platform, then people have got somewhere to come. People have got somewhere to be inspired. People have got somewhere to listen to what different things have helped other people. And that's what I want to create. It's almost basically gone from showcasing the alcohol free events and showcasing what is possible to now it's like, okay, I've proved that concept. I've showcased, we've got people talking. Now I want to basically shine a light on other ways that we can look after ourselves mentally. Because, like we're both accepting and we're both saying, ultimately, it's down to the individual.
Hmm.
Ultimately, it is down to the individual. you know, I got clean and sober for my son at the beginning because I couldn't do it for myself. I didn't have enough self respect and I
Hmm.
was in a too dark a place to be able to do it for myself. I got clean and sober for my son. But since that day that I got clean and sober, I have had to work on myself and find different things that have helped me and that keep me, on that path, keep me
Hmm.
on the new path, not the old path. And that's about, trying different things and being open to change and accepting that I don't know everything. And, it's about being open to trying things as well.
Yep.
And I think it's the same within business. When we're talking about startups, it's totally the same within business. I have made a lot of mistakes. I have had things go terribly wrong at different times, and sometimes you can bang your head against a brick wall and think to yourself, "Oh, what am I doing? Have I got this completely wrong?" But then you'll have those moments where something goes completely brilliantly, and you'll be inspired, again, and it takes. It's almost like a roller coaster.
Hmm.
One day you can feel like you're riding high, next day you can feel you're at the bottom of the roller coaster. And sometimes you wish for that level playing field, but then some of us get bored on that level playing field as well,
Yep.
and we actually enjoy the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
It's
No, I completely understand that. I think me and my wife always argue all the time, because she's always like, you're always thinking about like the next shiny thing, is probably what people call it, is like, is it Bitcoin, is it some sort of crypto thing, is it something else, and you don't focus on one thing. Your mind's always going. And I always think, is that my addiction? Because I always feel like I've been doing the whole buying selling since a kid. Like since I was at high school, I used to buy and sell sweets. I used to find broken Nokias and fix them and sell them back to the people who they were broken from. So I think it has been my kind of thing, my focus. And you could talk about that, obviously, like that kind of shift and that focus. Do you feel like, because you're not obviously have one business, you've got multiple businesses, do you feel like that is your addiction?
being totally honest, I think I've got pretty much every addiction that goes. I genuinely, I have got, if I have to, my setup in my brain is definitely, slightly different. I'm going to describe it as where if I start training, I get obsessed with training.
Hmm.
So I used to get obsessed with training, and I'd be like, right, that's it. I'm going to train 7 days a week, and I'm going to train 3 times a day, and I'm going to get myself in great shape, blah, blah, blah. And then I used to have periods where I'd do that for 6 months, and then I'd do nothing. So I'd
Yep.
be all or nothing. And
Hmm.
that is, the same. I will I will either be eating really clean, really healthy for a period of time, or I'll be binging all the time.
Yep.
And I've always had that all or nothing. And since I've come into recovery, I've had to basically create some hard stops, as I call them, where I now live my life quite structured, to be honest. It might sound boring, but actually, it's creating a framework to work from.
Hmm.
So, for argument's sake, I know that training helps my mental health, and I know
Yep.
that exercise is good for me.
Hmm.
So, I have a hard stop that says I have to train 3 times a week, whether that be a walk, one or two of them, or whether that be full proper training sessions three
Hmm.
times a week. But what I don't do is I don't allow myself to do like 7 days a week, 3 times a day, because I know that that is not sustainable
Yep.
and it's not realistic. So what I do is basically create that hard stop to allow it to be sustainable, realistic, and manageable. And I do the same with my food now. I won't be like all or nothing. I almost create that, we basically continue to eat consistently. And if I have a bingy day, I'll have a good day, to balance it out
Yep.
where it's not all or nothing. Because I was always all or nothing. All or nothing. That was always my mindset. Where it's
Yeah.
like, and I think a lot of us are the same, where you get caught in that trap where it's like you want to go from hero to zero or from zero to hero.
Yeah. Okay, so you mentioned then there's something that some people might have overlooked and you mentioned the person earlier. It's a business partner, and I personally don't have a business partner. I've had some bad experiences with business partners. How do you find a business partner who is on your level, and what do you look for when you find yourself a business partner? Because obviously, knowing your story, knowing everything that you've gone through, to have somebody who you trust and they trust you, it's how does that dynamic work, and how do you kind of balance each other out?
Yeah, I guess, and it's a great point because for me, I set up Claritee with Ben, who's been one of my great friends.
Mhm.
And I've basically trained with him for over 20 years. So it was built on basically, friendship
Yep.
and, the trust that was already there and the respect that was already there. And we came together, with a want and a wish to basically help other people effectively. And that was how it was formed, that we complemented, each other. He was, more from the event side. He'd done a lot of events, he'd done a lot of that side, and I was more from the business side of basically, pulling it all together. And we just basically complemented each other. But then
Mhm.
it's like anything, isn't it? You have your moments with anybody in business. And I think sometimes because we were such great friends, you overcommit with each other
Mhm.
because of the friendship. And I think finding business partners is hard. It's definitely hard. And I think to your point, you've got to give each other or bring something to the party that complements each other, where it's basically a yin and a yang. Because I think that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I always know what my strengths are. I'm kind of like the big picture thinker, but I'm rubbish at admin. And so it's like I always think to myself, if I have a business partner who like knows the numbers and does all this with me, then it would just be such a better business and obviously help the growth of the business because you can't, as a solo entrepreneur, it's like trying to do everything is hard because you're like, if it's a product, you're building the product, then you have to do marketing, then you have to do sales and you have to do the accountants. And it's just it's a lot for one person. So having two people or three people, it definitely would help. So
Listen, honestly, and people always say, don't they, that you can't work on the business from within the business. You have to be
yeah.
outside of the business. That's like a thing that I've been hearing a lot
Hmm.
at the moment. But as a startup, you are responsible for everything. Social media, design, basically contracts,
Hmm.
clients, outreach, PR, marketing, accounts, payroll,
Yep.
absolutely everything. And it's it's an abundance of work. And nobody actually realizes the hours and the time and the dedication. And at the beginning, I all or nothing again, I guess, from me. But I just get obsessed with the business, the business, the business,
Hmm.
and it almost basically takes over. And again, I've had to learn years ago, I would work 7 days a week, and I have a tendency of getting over, well, it's not overexcited, but I have a tendency of if I'm not careful with myself, I would work 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. And because I get into that zone of being
Yep.
driven and wanting to make it work and proving the concept and all the rest of it. And these days I make sure that I have every Saturday and Sunday off. Basically, whatever I do during the week, I accept that is what I do during the week. But I make sure that every Saturday and Sunday I don't do work because it's about balance again.
It is definitely. Okay, so let's cast your mind back to starting off then. So 3 years ago, what was it like to try find that first person who would take an alcohol-free event? Like, what was that? What did that look like? How did you promote it? What were the
Let, yeah, let
conversations like prior to that?
let's be totally, totally real. Where every single person who I told we were doing this, every single person of my friends who still drink and obviously still are in the corporate world that continues as the booze culture, looked at me as if I had four heads and were going, "You are never going to make that work. Are you absolutely crazy? There is no way that you are going to do that." But that inspired me even more because as soon as people said, "You can't do it," as soon as people said, "Not a chance," I was like, well, okay, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to listen to that feedback and I'm going to listen to that, response. And I'm going to look at statistically what is going on and the way that the culture is changing and the way that the shift is changing. And my son's 21 and I had first-hand experience with seeing a lot of his friends that basically hardly drink, or a lot of his friends that go out and have one drink and that's enough
Hmm.
for them. And then they'll drink soft drinks again or, the non-alcoholic stuff. And I looked at that and I looked at basically the way that things are changing. And I said, whether it's now or whether it's over the next so many years, the shift is going to come. The shift is definitely going to come. And I just believed in myself, and I went, we can do this. We can do this. Um, and I think it's about knowing and believing in what you're doing. Does it make it easy? No. Does it act? No, no, no is the honest answer. Does it make it challenging? And do you face those moments where you think, am I, crazy here? Is this, the right thing to be doing? And you have those moments of doubt, and just like anybody else, you question. But the whole purpose for me was to be showcasing what is possible. And to nearly 3 years down the line, we've had thousands of people come to our events, and we've had no negative feedback. Every single person who have come has had a brilliant time. We've had some of the best testimonials. We've had some such amazing feedback and such amazing comments, testimonials, people shouting about it, people loving it, but also the people feeding back saying, I was really skeptical. I was really skeptical
Hmm.
about what it was going to be like, and I thought it was going to be a snowball alcohol-free event. And actually, I had an amazing time. Actually, I really, really enjoyed it. And that was the bit that kept on inspiring me, because
Yep.
whilst it was tough at the beginning, whilst it was a challenge, listening to what other people thought and what other people said, I knew I was on the right page. I knew I was on the right page. Have we got everything perfect in the last 3 years? No. Could we have done a lot of things better? Yes. Could we have spent a lot of money better? Yeah. And that is the truth, that
Mhm.
we could have done things a lot better looking back, but it's all part of the journey. And from the proof, or sorry, from the seed and the idea to proving the concept to where we are today, am I happy? Yeah, I am actually happy. Have we made a lot of money? No, no, but that's okay. That's okay, because it's any business in its infancy. And basically, while you're building the brand, while you're building, the building blocks, I don't think you're going to make a lot of money at the beginning of a successful
Yep.
business, is my view, because it's like building a house. If you build a house on rubbish foundations, it's not going to last.
Yep.
If you build a business on solid, proven, accepted, and wanted foundations, then you've got longevity. Then you've got a platform to build, grow, adapt, change, and move forward with.
So, in respect of the first event that you had, what was the size and scale of that event?
So, yeah, we did the UK first in Liverpool at St George's Hall, probably one of the biggest venues in Liverpool. I think we had about 350.
Oh, so not a
So we
small event. It was a decent size. Yeah,
had,
that's a good one. I was expecting like
no,
10 people, 20 people to start off
no,
with.
no, no, this is my whole thing of go big or go home, though, isn't
Yeah.
it? That was so. If I was when we were doing it, and we discussed it, and we batted backwards and forwards about, okay, I wanted to do a big sort of landmark.
Mhm.
Let's really showcase what is possible, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and I remember being stood at the back of St George's Hall, looking on in the middle of the event and thinking to myself, wow, wow, this is amazing. We've got over 300 people here. Everybody's having an amazing night. Everybody's loving everything. And it's all alcohol free. And I was
Yeah,
like, when you just think to yourself,
you've done it.
we've done it. Financially, had we done it? No.
Hmm.
you know, and that's the difference, isn't it? What do you pin success on? Is it
Yep.
the financial success? Or is it building something that you are truly believe in, and that you're building foundations? And that's the balance, isn't it? Because a lot of us at the beginning look for the financial success from day one, and we want that instant, success of finance, finance, finance. And I actually think back, and you can do this with quite a lot of brands. When you go and research some of the most successful brands, they've been very close to falling over, or
Hmm.
they've been very close to failing, and then they've switched to what they do, or they've had to adapt, or they've had to change, but the foundations were always built good. And that's where I believe in building great foundations, adapting, changing, listening, but always stick to your purpose. And my purpose has and will always continue to be a want and a wish to help other people. And if that doesn't monetize fabulously or amazingly, that's okay too. If I'm, because I have set out on this mission that this is what I want to do. And this is why I've created Claritee. And this is why I will continue, to create clarity. But ultimately, I also believe that if you build something on foundations that are good, everything else will follow.
And then where financially, where are you at the moment? Are you in profit at the moment? Are you Like what does the numbers kind of look like?
Yeah, so I would say at the end of going into year 3, we are probably breaking even,
Okay.
which I think is not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
No, I think is the first couple of years were losses, and that's to be
Hmm.
expected. In the
Yeah.
first couple of years, setting something up from absolutely nothing, you're always going to have that. And to get to year 3, breaking even, I'm I'm pretty comfortable with that. To be honest, I'm pretty happy with
Yeah.
that.
I think the reason why I ask financials is because I think a lot of these like younger people, they chase the money. They don't chase, like you said, building the foundations, building the business, because it is compounding over time. It's like meme coins versus long-term investment. Ultimately the long-term investment is going to be the one that pays you out the most. But people don't like waiting these days. And I'm one of them people. I've done stupid stuff. I've actually put money on a meme coin and lost because you kind of going, oh, I can multiply money in 30 minutes, an hour, two
Yeah,
days,
yeah,
and
yeah.
opposed to like compounding over time. And my most successful business is the one that I've actually compounded over time. And it's the one that's kind of like been kind of running in the background because I have always been working full time. It's been ticking in the background over the last 4 or 5 years, but it's actually still surviving. It's still making more money than anything else I've ever done, and it's helping me out now that I'm actually all into the agency. So yeah, I think it's kind of a message that I kind of want to kind of shout out about, like building businesses, making money. Yes, you can. There is fast money routes out there, which isn't doesn't happen to everyone, because even with like this crypto world, for example, there's always somebody at the top who's winning off of your pain. I think what I'm trying to get to is like, if you want to make a successful business, you need to think about like it is going to take time. Like it's going to take 3 years to break even. It's going to take, you probably might go into debt. That's a high chance as well. You might lose because not all businesses
One
even
million.
last that point. Do you feel like the reason why you're comfortable with that is because you have other businesses that you can rely on
Yeah,
financially outside of
I
that?
I think, being realistic, being honest, because I've got other businesses, and I know what it's like to set up a business, and I know the hard work, the dedication, and also I'm accepting of the reality as to you can't go in, set up something brand new and expect to have it make money from day one. And you will make mistakes. And you will get things wrong and you will lose money on certain things. And that's reality of business. And that's reality of starting something up. But if you adapt, change, and build the foundations on something solid, you can build a sustainable, long running, successful business. And it's sticking to that core, but accepting, and everybody, especially the younger generation, are looking for that quick fix, that
Hmm.
quick, the instant win, the easy win, easy, get rich quick, or let's do that and I'll get rich quick. And it's all about money and it's all about,
Yep.
financial. Whereas, you know, it's almost, if you do the right things and if you build your business on the right foundations, the money will take care of itself eventually.
Yep.
Um, and that's the bit. Don't chase the money, build the foundations, continue to believe in what you're doing and do it for purpose, and everything else will follow.
Definitely. Okay, so for somebody who's not been to one of your events, what can they expect from one? Because in my mind, I keep thinking of that video. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a viral video that went viral like a couple of years ago, like a man dancing on a hill, and starts dancing by himself, and then all of a sudden the person next to him starts dancing, and then it just has this chain reaction of everyone dancing on this like summer's day outside. I think it's like a park or something. But that's all I keep thinking about when I keep hearing your events. So what would
Yeah.
somebody expect coming into your events? Is it a bit like slow to start off with, and then people start building and like that kind of chain reaction, or do they just go all in straight away?
So you've obviously, and this is where Burn was great because Burn came up with the concept of how we were going to do the event.
Hmm.
And it was all about keeping it very high tempo, lots of engagement, lots of things going on, so that basically people are like, whether it's some entertainment at the beginning where you've got that flash mob, where you've got the wow factor, then you have a bit of, so you're taking people up and down, up and down, up and
Hmm.
down. And, we do a lot of the stuff we do is challenges and gameplay and crowd interaction, and, getting people up, getting people involved, having people dance, having people let go of all their inhibitions. And a lot of it's almost a lot of people turn around and go, I didn't even realize that I didn't have a drink. I
Mm.
just had one of the best nights. I had loads of fun. I was like constantly doing something. I was constantly entertained, engaged. I had all of that energy, and I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice that I didn't have any, alcohol. And it's that high tempo, creating the atmosphere, and it's infectious. Like you've just said about the one person dancing. As soon as there's a sort of a crowd of 10 that start really relaxing and engaging, then that crowd becomes 20, 30, 40. Then all of a sudden, the whole venue is, having an amazing time, and it's like
Mhm.
infectious. It is. And you know what you're going to get, because you're not plowing people full of a mind-altering substance, where it's a lottery as to how people are going to react. It's a lottery of how to, what people are going to do, etc.
Yeah, no, definitely. And then how do you kind of like keep the people who may be a bit more quiet in the background? Because I'm an introvert naturally. How do you kind of get them engaged? Is there like facilitators going around getting people involved, or is
Yeah, yeah,
how does it
yeah.
kind of
And
work?
that's the key bit. We always know, we always basically have hostesses, facilitators, and we always make sure that we in basically incorporate everybody,
Hmm.
and even, Ben will come up to me sometimes and go, "Oh, that person looks like they're really, not sure." Going, so then basically I'll go and chat, or one of us will go and chat, and we
Yeah.
basically split it, because it's all about making sure that everybody has the same experience, and
Yeah.
everybody, I had we had two young lads come to one of our events by accident. And as soon as they found out it was alcohol free, they wanted to leave. They went,
Hmm.
"No way, we're going." And I went and chatted to them and convinced them to stay. And the next minute, they were doing a dance class with everybody. They engaged, they loved it. They came up to me afterwards and went, "Actually, we've just had one of our best nights. We've
Oh
just had
wow.
one of our best nights. And we were going to leave before you even spoke to us.
Yeah.
So glad we stayed." And I was like, "Oh," and they were only 18. They were only two 18-year-old lads had come to this event by accident. And their first reaction was, when they found out it was alcohol free, they were going to go. And they actually had one of the best nights they'd had in ages. And they were dancing with like a big group of everybody, and they were having loads of fun, and they were stepping outside their comfort zone. And that to me was like really powerful.
Yeah. Can imagine. So what's the next kind of like few years going to look like for you? So you've done it for 3 years now. What's how many events do you do a year? Like roughly how many events have you done this year so far? I know we were
So
just
we've
about to get into
done this year, we've done about four. So we don't do big numbers.
it. Okay.
We don't do big numbers, because what we've been doing in the background this year has been building what I call Clarity 2.0, which is going to be a platform and bringing people together to a community, where basically we are going to be shouting about and showcasing lots of other people doing good things, and lots of other people providing choices about different ways that you can help yourself, and about, different choices. And again, it comes back to that point of not telling anybody what to do, but it's all about showcasing, shouting, letting people see what is possible.
Amazing. So that's the kind of the next phase. And are you going to still be obviously doing the events as alongside of that?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's because it's almost that age-old thing, isn't it? That we have to still be putting our head above the parapet, showing,
Hmm.
what is possible, showing, what is, allowing people to see how much fun the events are, as well as basically then coincide with our own platform of basically helping other people, and helping other people mentally, because that is the piece of the puzzle that I truly believe is missing. I think everybody, like I said to you earlier, is great or getting better at looking after themselves physically. And the actual biggest challenge that most of us face is the mental side and that battle in our own heads, the self doubt, the thoughts, the thinking in your own head. It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And are the events open to public and they're ticketed, or are they just corporate only?
Yeah, no, no. So wherever we do, they are ticketed as well,
Okay.
and whatever we do, we open it up to anybody and everybody to be able to come because it's so important. Because
Mhm.
it's so important to allow that option and that freedom of choice. Unless it's a client's private event that we're doing
Yep.
or that we're organising, and we do some of those these days, where clients employ us and we basically create a bespoke package for that company, which has been good, which is also good because then you can create that different challenges of different parts of the business competing either against each other, with each other, splitting people up.
Yep.
It's a great way of getting people to meet each other, engage, spend time with each other who they might not know, and actually connect. Because let's be honest, if you put 500 people together at a boozy conference, you just end up partnering up with a drinking buddy or two, and you spend the night with them, and you don't really ever speak to anybody else, and
Mhm.
that's the reality, isn't it?
So if somebody wanted to find one of your events, how would they find you?
So website, you know LinkedIn, website, the usual Claritee, TEE, for a play on teetotal, yeah. And any of our social handles as well.
Amazing. Do you have anything that you'd kind of like want to just give it as a message to anybody who's looking to start their own business right now, just before we close? Like, what's your kind of like message to a young entrepreneur, not even a young entrepreneur, just any entrepreneur who wants to start their own business, who wants to make that leap? What kind of like message would you give to them?
I would just say that you've got to build the right foundations. Don't
Mhm.
go into setting up any business thinking that it's going to be an instant financial success. The reality is it will take time. The reality is you will make mistakes, and that's okay. And the reality
Yeah,
is you will lose money on some things, and you have to be accepting of that. Nothing is perfect, and as long as you are prepared and accept that it's going to take a bit of time, it's going to take hard work, but most importantly, you've got to build it on the right foundations. And that is the key for
definitely,
me.
definitely. Well, Alex, thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing the personal battles that you've been going through, as well as where you are now with the business. And hopefully, we'll see Clarity 2.0 out soon. Obviously, we can follow you over socials, LinkedIn, and follow the journey from there. So, just wanted to say a massive thank you for joining. And if you like this video, you want to hear some more stories, please like, share, and subscribe. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks. Thanks
Cheers.
very much,
Thank you.
mate.
Thank you. Bye.